sports cards from our favorite athletes. It often carries over from childhood well into adulthood. They're sort of like tokens to the fond memories from our past. But even down this avenue, there appear to be people aiming to take advantage. Tonight, investigative reporter Carice Jackman sheds some light on a sports card trading company not giving collectors their purchased merchandise. It's causing frustration and a painful wait. Tonight, we're asking how easily this could happen to you.
If there's one thing John Filbert loves, it's sports.
My first autograph card was a 1987 Topps Ken Schramm card, and it started just a love for the hobby.
His hobby evolved into collecting sports merchandise, specifically portraits and cards. That's how he heard about Panini America, a sports trading card company. But over the past few months, Filbert had trouble with his cards marked redemption, which basically act as an IOU for delayed autographed items.
And I have a current redemption card of one of my Houston Astros, Abraham Toro, and I redeemed that in December of 20, filled out the redemption, and it has yet to be fulfilled.
Rafal Rosowski experienced the same thing, not once or even twice.
I do have 31 outstanding redemptions going all the way back to 2017/18 that have not been fulfilled.
Rosowski says it's about more than money. He feels like his collection is incomplete. Both men say they've tried reaching out to Panini.
I've sent them countless of emails and little to no response.
We just wanted to let everybody know, urge caution when you're working with this company.
Better Business Bureau spokesperson Melanie McGovern's heard from numerous collectors.
We're getting complaints from consumers that they're not getting merchandise or they're not getting goods and services that were promised. Reached out to the company and said, hey, we have all of these consumer complaints. We need you to respond.
So far, the BBB's received complaints from collectors in 46 states, as well as 3 Canadian provinces. Most complaints centered around customers purchasing multi-card packs that contain redemptions for high-value player cards that were never delivered. Disputed amounts range from $100 to $20,000, with an average loss reported to the BBB of $1,700.
There's a lot of emotional ties to sports teams, cities, players, things like that. We also know there's a dollar value with sports teams and players and cards and memorabilia. You're losing an investment and you're losing a part of, something that is close to you.
We reached out to Panini America for a response and never heard back. The BBB says the company has since responded to their original inquiry, as well as some unanswered complaints. If you're collecting sports cards, the BBB says do your homework. Check with your local BBB to see if there are a pattern of complaints against the business. And if you've had issues, report them.
I hope that, this shakes some things up and Panini takes ownership of what they're doing and start getting some of these cards out.
With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.